So everybody, hey, Richard Jenson, we're here on the 90 Proof Wisdom podcast today. Hope you listen in, and we've got a good story of a little bit of failure, a little bit of winning, and right now at the end, we're winning really well. And so we're excited to have you come down all the way from Oregon today. Go ahead and tune us in.
If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle.
Yeah, this is Houston. We're copying. Everything is go here.
We shall fight on the beaches and in the streets. We shall never surrender.
I'm in it just to rewrite history, cause I'm in the mood to label us the leaders of the new school. This ain't for the radio, can't find this on YouTube. This the type of killing that these critics ain't used to.
You're a group of happy rebels. You've said no to the rules of the game and the regulations of the day. You've said no to the conventional wisdom. You're all originals.
In this day and age, I got time for innovation, time to be creative, time to make the waste of my time on critics hating, flattered by your opinions to show you.
Perfect. All right, Richard. So why don't you start in with your story? Kind of lead in that soft start, getting out of high school, trying to find something to do. What happened?
Yeah, I was pretty much protected from I was an athlete. I grew up as an athlete, focusing on goals, fitness, health, had a good, positive family system, good family values. Graduated from high school. I wasn't the most successful wrestler through high school. I wasn't at the top of the podium, but wrestling kept me grounded. It really was the recipe I needed, to be able to...
Kind of your compass from the beginning of your life, giving you direction, discipline, obligations, right?
Accountability,
there you
responsibility, all those good values that help keep you grounded, and focused. I got out of high school, went up to an opportunity to go make some money in Alaska. Sounded real good to me, coming from a family of 7, not a lot, good hand-me-downs, and, a little money before college. Sounded great for the summer. And
to everyone, I think we all had that dream.
Yeah, looks great,
right?
Good recipe for success. Looks good on paper. Chasing the almighty dollar,
But fishing in Alaska for the layman is, in my mind, I'd love to go fishing in Alaska for work. It's not the same. It's not the same. We've had the opportunity to see it now with TV, but back when I was graduating out of high school, I'm like, that'd be a cool job. Yeah. In my head, it was just simple fishing, but it's nothing the same.
Yeah,
and different characters.
For sure. It's a tough one. But I got up there, for the summer, fishing, salmon cannery in a factory, just a little exposure to Alaska. Made some money, and, what happened in that process is I started chasing the money. I got paid really well for the summer and, started drinking a little bit and dabbling with a little bit of drugs. Nothing real serious.
What was your drugs?
Summer. Methamphetamine. Yep.
Okay.
Just almost took me out and destroyed my life. Yep. But, I spent 5 or 6 years fishing in Alaska. Found my way up different longliner to salmon tender, crab tender. Then I'm on a commercial king crab fishing boat in the Bering Sea.
The one you see.
The one you see.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. But this is the early 90s, not a lot of regulations, open quotas, and fishing hard and living hard,
Right. Methamphetamine to keep you awake, those long shifts, right?
Yeah.
And give you the little fix you're looking for, I guess. But that would be the excuse for me.
That would be. Yeah, well, I had to work long hours. I had to work long. I had to work through the night, I'd come up with all the excuses, and not really seeing how bad it's really affecting your life yet, because you're still riding on high, got money, there's some success in it. You're trying to be the king of the sea, you looked up to those guys. They're full share deckhands making,
real
money, like, and you get clouded, the important things start going on the wayside, the real important things. And unfortunately, within a 5 or 6 year period, I came back home with a serious habit, and all that money doesn't last long when you got a serious drug habit. Yeah.
So you're up there from, call it 18 to 23, 24 years old. You wander back with the habit, a little bit of cash in your pocket that's depleting, right? If I'm hearing this right.
Yep.
But it didn't wake you up yet.
Oh,
you come back like,
oh no, not even close yet.
Yeah, no. Okay.
The gorilla on your back has a bigger plan, and unfortunately, I had to be miserable for another 10 or 15 years.
That's all.
You know, yeah. 10 or 15 years of miserable fighting to get loaded, chasing that high, destroying your life, driving a wedge between the things you love, the things you want, your family, the important things in your life, driving it.
Yep. So quick questions in the middle. Because we as a human have all sorts of problems.
Yep.
Right. And it's easy for us to cast judgment on people that don't have what they would call a habit.
You bet.
Right. If they're not drinking or smoking or chewing or doing heroin or doing methamphetamine or cocaine or marijuana, you name the string of stuff, they don't have a problem. They have a problem, right? But we make our little excuses. They just don't feel like they're that low of a person. But we all are the same, regardless of how they want to cast their spell. But I want to just kind of look into your head on how you justify these small little left turns when you should go right, or you're making these little decisions that kind of tilt you off a direction that was kind of in a win out the gate. So you go in, you're making an okay to say, hey, you know what, I'll have a drink, I'm old enough, or close to, or they don't care here. Everybody else is, no big deal. I don't have to get hooked on this. A lot of people don't.
No. Well, it's you got to remember. So a lot of it's socially acceptable. You know, it's just socially
kind of expected.
I mean, yeah. We go out, have a drink. We have a business meeting, have a drink. You know, watch the game, have a drink. You know, it's and in Oregon right now, you know, drugs are becoming more illegal, and it's a constant battle with trying to. And I talk to kids all across the country. So my focus is teaching the kids, right? So that's my mindset. Like I get a lot of messages from adults say, well, why don't you do that? Well, I'm focused on kids, early. Right? I'm focused on kids, you know? And the battle I'm going through is they're basically co-signing some things, you know?
Sure.
And they're saying it's okay because it's legal.
Kind of like you. I mean, let's just back to you, right? You co-signed it and said, it's okay.
And that's exactly it. It didn't take enough away from me to get a clue. You know, it was like, oh no, I still got money. I still got money, but I got no place to live. I still got money, but I don't have a connection with my kids. There's things that, you know, it chips away at you slowly too. It's like you don't even realize that it's slowly chipping away at your life, at your integrity.
Do you feel like it's easy to justify at each step?
Absolutely.
You can't see it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, no big deal. No big deal. It's not them. It's not me. It's them.
Yeah,
they're casting judgment, right?
Well, this is the truth too. And then it's like, you know, it'll never be that bad. You know, we always have a gauge to gauge it from. Well, it's not that bad. I'm not the guy in the homeless shelter. It's not that bad. I'm not on the street. It's not that bad. Are you kidding me?
Physically, maybe. But mentally, you're just about there.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if I could, I would have gone back and changed my bottom. That would have been nice if I could lift my bottom up. I had to hit a pretty good bottom.
Deep valley.
I mean, most people learn from it and they don't dig such a big hole, you know. But unfortunately, I had to take a lot of lumps. I had to dig a pretty good size hole and hit a pretty low bottom. In
that question, you said you had kids. So you came back. Did you have kids before you left to Alaska or after?
My oldest daughter I had about that time. Yep.
Right before you went.
Yep.
Right? Or before you went to Alaska?
No. Shortly after I got back. You know,
okay. So you were
3 or 4 years out of high school.
Years.
I have a daughter. Yep.
Got it. You got it. Married?
Yep. No, never married till 10 years ago.
Awesome. So that's a little better.
Married. Yeah. Never got married, but I had a couple daughters, you know, and you know, I got 2 daughters. I got grandkids now. You know?
Awesome.
And you know, those are that's the whole thing. Like, you know, justifying it all. You know, justifying it all. Like, oh, it's not that bad. It's horrible. It's horrible. I got a kid out there that I've abandoned. Mm-hmm. I have a kid out there I haven't seen in a year or two. Like, it's bad. This is bad. You know, well, no, it's okay. My mom sees her, you know, it's okay. It's not, I'm not in her life. She doesn't have that human connection with her father. She needs me. And drugs became a priority in my life. It ruled my life. And it's not an uncommon story. It's just finding clarity and getting past it and getting to where we're at, you know, years later to look back and look at it and go, wow, I really failed. I failed my kids. I failed my family. I failed myself, you know. How do I overcome that?
Well, that's a first question. That's a big question, like second step. But what's the first question? Like if you're a young kid or even a grown man, it's like, hey, look, I'm really tired. This isn't a big deal. it'll help. But where do you make those lefts? Where do you see and start to make that correction before you make the decision?
Well, you got to figure out what you really want in your life. Take a look around. We have examples of addiction. We have examples of alcoholism. We have examples of people struggling in their life. Lots of them.
Like almost every person.
Everybody's got some kind of struggle in their life. It just looks different. It just has a different name. It has a different formula.
Right.
But it can be self-esteem. It can be, mental health. It can be addiction. It can be food. It can be drugs. It can be building relationships with people. It can be connecting with people.
Right.
Struggle with connecting with people,
And that numbs it, right? All the above substances numbs it all.
Absolutely.
And then we become internalized a little bit. Which to me, fortunately, like the one thing I struggled with for a long time is nicotine. Heavy. Yeah. Like smoked for a long time, chewed trying to confuse the cancer a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it won't settle in my lip or it won't settle in my lungs if I do both. Right? That's been it. And I've drank and I have a beer here and there, but it's not like anything that's important to me. Yeah, it's completely irrelevant. If someone says you can never have it, fine. That's not a big deal. So I've been fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, nice. But you could take it or leave it. Yeah,
take it or leave it. I lost my cousin 2 years ago to it that just barely drank and then full throttle, and he was half a gallon a day, which surprised the heck out of me. I'm like, how did he go from like the guy that would always kind of, no, you don't want to do that. Never smoked, never did anything because his parents kind of did. Yeah. Lost both of those people in the last 2 years too, aunt and uncle and my cousin. But it's pretty easy for me to say, oh, it's not that hard. But there's other things in my life that, holy crap,
right,
that'll kick my butt. So it's really hard for me to say anything to anyone. And I try to be pretty accepting, like, because I recognize my own faults. And I've been fortunate enough to run on an ambulance and see the steps downhill, right? You see the beginning. Yep. It's like, hey, Rich, what's going on? You probably ought to go down that pathway. A few years later, or even, unfortunately, sometimes just a few months later, like, dude, now you're on 24th Street. Now you're sleeping on the side of the road. You had a family, you had kids, you had a car, you had a job. You've lost 50 pounds.
Yep.
You have none of the above, and you're still not caring about that. You're mad that I just gave you Narcan.
Right.
Right? From heroin or whatever.
You just saved his life.
And he's just pissed.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, I can't believe you took away my high.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every person that works on an ambulance has this same story, but that they've seen this. As you see this de-escalation of people's goals and morality, and they don't even recognize it. They don't recognize themselves, and nor do I think they feel like that's important. They just assume how the drug's more important than them anyway.
Yep.
So what's concerning? Go ahead. Sorry.
I had no idea. So and I can relate to that. Like, you're in the depths of it. You're in the face of it. You see the struggle right there on the street as doing what you do. Mm-hmm. I remember, like, I wrote my book, and it took me a lot of years, and I got to really heal and internalize.
Your book name really fast so people can look it up?
Be a Champion of Life.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Be a Champion of Life. Where do you get it?
Amazon or our website, beachampionlife.com. You can order and learn more about the story, Great book for kids, great book for anybody that just needs to be inspired about the life they have, and it really just helps you with perspective on how bad things can be, But what I was going to say is, like, there was a lot of healing in that process. I had to dredge up some pretty rough things in my life and the struggle. And I've been sober a long time, by the way, almost 2 decades, so I'm way removed from
still celebrating.
From that. Yeah. I'm still excited. I'm moving, I'm moving, and I always thought, that's the key, is just to get sober. Right. And then I found out life's going to hit you in the mouth and there's a lot more work to do, but that was the key to kickstart it, was get off the sauce. But looking back on those years, like, I didn't see the same person in the mirror. I didn't see the person that my mom saw. I didn't see the person that my family, my loved ones saw. I didn't see the damage it was doing. And
so how does that register to you when you're midstream and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're thinking about your daughter and your mom? What do you think in your head as you look at yourself? Just for the other person that may be there.
Well,
how did you justify that?
Oh yeah, it's not easy. It's do more drugs.
Just to numb it out.
Do more drugs. I don't want to take that. I don't want to take that on. I need to sedate myself. I need to stay oblivious. You know, I don't want to accept the fact that I've been a failure. I don't want to accept the fact that I've abandoned my kids. I don't want to accept the fact that I've let my family down. I'll just get drunk again, you know, and it's a cycle that it's hard to get out of, you know, and it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of focus and determination and resilience to be able to come from years of struggle and disappointment and find the, you know, and change your life. It's and so we stay stuck, you know, but we all got it in us. Parker, we all got it in us. We all got it in us. Are you kidding me? We all got it in us. We just got to stop, make it important, and break it down to the daily success, the day. It doesn't have to be a national champion, an author. You know, it doesn't have to be way out there. Don't grasp how big it can be. Imagine how big it can be and dream big, but break it down to granule
today, wins. We just talked about that.
Today I want to win.
Kind of like that compounding interest. The Dave Ramsey story with money.
Yes.
There is no reason it doesn't apply to our daily savings and successes,
Yeah.
right? So if you put that extra 15 minutes, 20 minutes, hour, minute of focus in there, and you do it every day, 7 days a week, and then who are you going to be 3 years from now?
Yep.
You won't even know who you are if you've made those little metric steps. It's compound paying itself on everything you've invested prior, right? And people just are afraid to invest their mindset and their time in themselves.
Yeah.
Outside of the drug, that's different. Because they want to feel different.
And we're talking about everybody.
And we're talking about everyone.
Life. We're talking about life and consistency and investing in self a little bit every day and making those small adjustments and keep moving. Just keep moving. And compound interest. Over time, success starts to come. You start winning.
Agree.
You start
Success. Making those hard choices. Like, let's just say you're going to take the word shit out of your vocabulary.
Yeah.
Right? Let's start there and say, hey, every day I don't say shit when I want to say it. I'm going to give myself whatever it may be. Right?
Yeah.
Just as a little reward. And then tomorrow I'm going to take damn out of it.
Yep.
Right? And so we can clean up our vocabulary. But pretty soon, now we have a pretty clean vocabulary, which I don't, by the way. I should.
But
this is something I'm telling myself. I'm bringing this up because this is what I need to do. But needless to say, I'm just saying, look, if we could just do that, next thing you know, you have a really good vocabulary and you have something that people want to listen to. But it's just something we need to focus on. I avoid it because I think it'd be kind of hard for me to clean up my mouth, you know?
And that's part of it. It's like, that's hard. I don't know. Well, and we live in a society, there's instant gratification. You get on your phone, boom, there's the answer, boom, there's the the solution. There's a fix it. There's a pill for everything. I mean, we're in this world that everything seems to show up immediately. You know, stop. And that was probably the advantage I had actually when I got sober. One of the most important things I could recognize was the fact that I spent 20 years messing up my life. It wasn't going to take 20 minutes to build it back. And I was willing to step back and take there was times where it was very difficult, especially when it came to rebuilding the relationship with my kids. I think that was the hardest thing that I had to go through as a father, was letting them go through their process. Like I let them down. I abandoned them. They have a right to be pissed. They have a right to be mad.
Do the math for people really quick. So you're around 23 when you had your first one. You did drugs until you were 40 or 35, 36. Am I doing the math right?
Yeah, I got sober at 34.
34. Yep. So what was your bell ringer moment that said, holy crap? And I know that, but then also, if you finally are saying, hey, I need to do this, your kids are then 12 to 15 years old.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much who they are.
Yeah.
And a little bit mad.
Yep. Yeah. Right. So everybody said, well, what my bottom, my bottom was going to maximum state prison finally. I'd done 7 years locked up in jail and county, and I finally went to prison.
Did you get drugs in jail?
No.
You couldn't get it?
No. And I isolated myself the last 2 times I got locked up. I wanted to change my life. Just didn't know how, so I stayed away from all the trouble, all the segregation. And
so maximum.
Yeah. So, Oregon State Penitentiary. And mind you, this is a guy that hasn't done anything real terrible, but I'm sitting
just multiple times of the same thing.
Yeah. Drugs, manufacturing, commercial manufacturing, drugs.
Right.
And I'm sitting with killers, guys that are doing life.
Can't even relate.
I can't even. I have no idea. Like
I just did this to feel good. Dude.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. But then it's like it's the realization that I've been doing this a long time, and I'm starting to do more time, and I'm starting to go into more secure facilities, and like this is my life. I'm gonna be that guy with one bad night, one mistake. I'm gonna be that guy doing life, and. But here I am. I'm in prison finally. I graduated basically, and my mom passed away while
you were in prison.
I was there. Yeah. And my rock, my everything, when she passed away, I wasn't available. I wasn't present. Didn't even know she was sick. That's how detached I was to the important things in real life.
Did you get to go to the funeral?
No.
Wow.
No. And I'll talk about that though. What I want to say is I want to finish on my bottom. Here I am. I'm in prison. I do another year. I get out, and they actually parole me to downtown Portland, and I check into a homeless shelter. Okay. With the clothes on my back. And so
if that's not a wake up call,
it's a pretty low right there. That's the moment of clarity. I'm in line with all the homeless. They smell like pee, and they're dragging.
And they're
coming
sober.
out from under the bridge. And I've been sober a year. I'm getting out. I want to run. I want to run to the other side of the bridge and get drugs. I want to go get out of this. I want to run from this. And something inside of me said, if I can stand in this line, and get inside that gym floor and lay on the gym floor with these homeless, and I can do that, then I'll be able to move forward and maybe do something else, But I had to.
That was your small step.
That was that one.
That was that
one little thing today, as hard as it was. And let me tell you something. I didn't, but I could relate. It's like I'm at my bottom. I'm broken. I got nothing. If I leave this place, I'm going to a drug house. This is what I got. And I don't want to call my dad. I don't want to call my family. I want to figure out how to get my shit together and make the right call, But I laid on that gym floor for night after night after night, and we're talking picking tobacco out of the ashtrays and rolling cigarettes and everything, hanging out downtown, staying sober. And
that's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there going, "Hey, I'm looking for cigarettes, but I'm going to stay sober."
But I'm going to stay
not
sober.
Just looking for old cigarettes.
Like I'm broken.
But pieces.
Like it'd be nice to have a little shot of whiskey right now, and just forget about this moment where I'm at. And but I was bound determined to do whatever it took. And I had no idea what that meant, what it looked like. I just knew that I needed to find some professional help. I needed to find resource treatment. And it took a while, man. It took a month or two before I knocked on the right door, man. And I almost gave up a few times.
How long were you in the homeless shelter for?
A month. Wow. A month. And
I've been to those a lot, and that's not a fun place to go.
No, it's.
Fortunately, they're there. But it is not an easy lifestyle for anybody in it.
It's a great resource for the, it needs to be there. There's food lines. There's, the resource. There's help for.
But it's not the Taj Mahal.
No.
You know what I mean? This isn't a place you stand in line to go to.
Yeah.
This is a place you have to stand in line because a lot of people want to get in, but it's definitely probably not even on the 10th choice of places to be able to stay. It's at the end, right? So it's just what you'd think it is.
Yep. At the bottom.
At the bottom.
But thank God for the prison. Thank God for the homeless shelter. Thank God for Central City Concern who took me in finally, But what I was going to say is, here's the thing. My mom passed away. I was in prison. I was in and as much drugs and as much of a negative place as it can be, I was staying abstinent. I was staying away from all the corruption and corrosion in prison. I was focusing on myself, writing my kids every day and just, keeping my mind right. And luckily, I was in a safe place. If I'd have been out on the streets, my mom passed away, I probably would have went off the deep end, dude. I would have probably not found my way back.
Sure.
Like I did, So I look at it like it was a breath of fresh air that I was where I was at during that. And mind you, I didn't get to grieve. I have a lot of a lot of guilt and shame around, everything. Had to work out over time and figure out how to honor my mom moving forward, and I've been able to do that. I've been able to do that and heal, and I'm good. I was at my dad's, side, when he passed, and I got to be, sober. Dad got to know me sober for a few years, and see me compete and wrestle, wrestle a Canadian champion, so
that's freaking
Matt's
awesome.
side. So, I got to heal that with mom through my dad, and then obviously go on, and
So you go
do what I do.
month at the homeless shelter. Next step.
Yeah.
What goes after that?
So I start knocking on doors trying to get into treatment, and I write about how hard it was to get help in my book. Like, I knocked on treatment doors and I couldn't find help. I couldn't find anybody to take me in. Like, here I am, I'm sober. I want to change my life. I need help. I'm coming to the door knocking on it. And there's no money, no insurance, all these reasons I couldn't get into their program, right? And so I just kept at it. And honestly, I went through times of feeling like having a drink and like giving up. It was hard to get into the right facility and get somebody to take me in. But
How long did you have to wait?
Well, within a month and a half of being out, I finally got in. It's just nobody would take me in.
Sure.
Well,
they still suffer that today.
I wasn't court mandated, so it's not automatic. Right. So I'm out looking, I don't have any money. I don't have any insurance. So there's, But anyway, finally, Central City Concern took me into a mentor program, drug and alcohol treatment, gave me a little apartment. They took me in, and it saved my life. It saved my life. There I was in a structured program, great mentorship program, and the counselors and mentors had all done more time than I had, but they're sober, decades, and they're, counseling and teaching us.
You're like, how did they pull this off?
Ex-convicts how to stay sober, and find yourself.
So how long did you get to do that for?
About 6 months. 6 months.
That's
and
then, that's what you need.
Yeah,
Not 90 days.
Not 28 days. Yeah, 30 days. I failed every time it was 30, 60 days or, locked up for 60. It's just, I needed some time. I needed some reprogramming. I needed some time to get stable and get focused and get sober. Like, get some clarity.
My brother-in-law is going through this right now. And Sean, I love you to death. But this is what he's struggling with. It's, he goes from heroin to alcohol and back and forth, and it's a struggle. But the problem is he's getting a 28-day deal or a 90-day deal, and then it's out, and he's had to keep going through these cycles. And bless his heart, it's really hard, and he feels super sober. He's probably the best mentor ever. When he gets in there, he sobers up, and then all of a sudden he becomes a coach.
He's
right?
the guru.
He's the guru. He's the guy. As soon as he leaves, you give him a good 90 days post that, and he's full kicking again, right?
Oh, man.
So it's like, man, you are the best dude on the planet.
Yeah.
And he just can't hold his steering wheel straight. It's the and I can't judge. I'm not armchair quarterbacking this guy at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think sometimes, depending on the music we listen to, if we keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. If you listen to something that kicks your thought into a process that you were there before, it's hard to keep it out of it. You have to change all sorts of directions, right?
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's not just getting sober. There's a lot of work to do to heal and find yourself and find your passion. And that's what the big thing is about passion, finding that thing to keep you interested and focused and driving and moving forward. You obsess, you obsess about the drugs like it's a full obsession.
Sure.
24 hours a day.
Enough to forego everything else in your
That's
life.
all I can think about, right? And so now you take it away. I got to fill that hole. I got to fill that obsession. I got to keep myself busy, at school, get treatment, get help, and be around in 12 steps.
That's why you guys get so good at it.
Yeah.
Because you're 100% focused on
all
that.
All in.
Got it.
And so for me, that was the big thing. Like, once I found my path, once I realized I needed something else in my life, I was able to stay sober for a few years. I did go to treatment for 6 months. Then I moved into a sober living house for another year. So I bought into the process, Anytime you shortchange it or just half-step things, it doesn't always work out.
Mm-hmm.
I told him I was all in. So I was listening and following suggestions and doing everything I could to save my life.
Yeah.
Because I knew the path I was on, I'm going to be dead or in prison. So I was willing to do everything it took.
Casey Scott, KSL News here.
Yeah.
I had him on here a little bit ago, and your story's a lot the same. His was alcohol related, and it's crazy how substance, regardless of what your choice is, right? His was alcohol.
Yep.
He said his drug dealer was Maverick gas stations, right? So it's kind of he has his local drug dealer be a Maverick, but it sounds a lot the same. And even though we feel so isolated and alone and our stories are so confining to us, it's just really not. It's just a human story with a different element, right? Yeah. And that's where I wish my brother-in-law could listen, is like, hey, you guys just don't understand. No, I do.
No, we do.
In a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not this exact element you're in or that you're with, but I do. I get it. But,
it's like I've always been really good about like, I don't care if it's pot, alcohol, or heroin, or whatever the case may be, the feeling is the same, that hopeless feeling that it controls your life. We all feel that, we can relate to that no matter what drug it is,
right.
We can,
it's just the addiction side.
It's just that, it's, and so we can all relate. We can all relate to struggle at whatever level it is. Struggle, just hard times, overcoming challenges. Like right now, the last 2 years, like the world's going through some tough times.
100% agree.
I mean, mental health is up, addiction is up, and we're all just trying to navigate and find our way right now. And it's tough times for everybody at some level. And so that feeling of insecurity,
right. And what may not seem hard for us, it could be detrimentally difficult for someone else.
For somebody else, it could be life-threatening,
right?
And so I'm always very empathetic to what you might feel like with experiencing what it is you're experiencing. You don't need a low of a low as I had to feel the way I felt.
Right. You may be there at just a simple place.
A very simple place. And that's where we have to understand that, like it and be empathetic to that, because it's the same feeling,
So after your sober living 1 year, I mean, there's this heroic part where all of a sudden you're going to take on this next level of, I'm going to go after this lifelong dream of being a wrestler, and then I'm going to mentor and teach and try to catch these kids at a young age, which unfortunately, especially if you're running on a paramedic rescue or ambulance or fire, and even school teachers and administrators, that junior high, elementary, junior high, high school place is a weird, screwed up place right now. And depending on what part of the country you're in and what their Kool-Aid they're trying to drink, just to try to understand it and having some conversations with my kids, even a little teeny town, is tough. And they're super influential, or super easily influenced.
Yes,
right? That's the word, whatever you want to, word that is. Obviously, if I drop shit and learn my vocabulary, I'd be a better off person. But anyway, I just see that they have these little kind of, well, Dad, why you don't understand that? That's okay. I'm like, no, I don't know if that's okay. Right? Whatever that teacher just said. But it's a great time to capture their attention and help them recognize that just their little difficulty of bullying or addiction to their phone or whatever that may be, or their game box or whatever that is, right? It is. I've been on suicides from a 12-year-old that shot himself because his Xbox got taken away. I've had double hangings of two brothers. I've been on two brothers hanging, right? So you see some crazy stuff in this career, right?
Tragic.
But over nothing. But for us, as we look at it from the outside, to them, obviously it is everything.
Everything.
And their little minds that you're talking with right now.
Yeah.
Rich, it's pretty awesome that you can grab them there. And I think that's the place that needs it right now.
Absolutely. I focus on middle school, high school, college kids, because I think that it's where we get to really educate and teach. They're still trying to navigate, find their way. A lot of smaller towns don't get exposed to some things, but it's a crucial
Or they
time.
get overly exposed.
Or overly exposed.
Right, depending on what part of the country you're in.
And they need to understand, like, this is the world we live in. This is what I went through.
Yeah.
I'm just sharing my experience, right? But everybody can relate to. They can see it in the world. They can see it in their family members. They see addiction and drugs and struggle and hard times. They see it, and I'm able to reach them because it's a real life story. I think we can all get captivated by real, true stories, and to be able to, obviously I'm blessed to be able to take something so negative and turn it into such a positive, life-changing program. But there I am. So I'm, sober a few years, trying to figure out, okay, I figured out how to stay sober. Now what?
Got it.
Now what? I need something else. I need something else. And
feel that time that you used to put all of it in over here.
Exactly. Obsession, full time. I'd always wondered what it'd have been like if I'd have went to college.
Okay.
I'd always dreamed about being on a college wrestling team. even in the midst of my addiction, even sitting in a jail cell doing push-ups out, I'm in stance. I've just dreamed about being part of the team again, and never being able to really get out and stay sober long enough to find myself and get some clarity and get my feet on the ground to pursue anything. But I'd always dreamed about it. Mm-hmm. And so
Isn't that funny how those can still stay vivid?
Yes, yeah.
Even in the
worst of moments. Like, I remember being on the team. It was healthy, a great coach, good mentorship, where things were good in my life, And so there I am. I'm 37 years old. I'm a couple, 3 or 4 years sober. Wanted to go back to college and compete.
So you did?
So I did.
Wow. 37.
37.
So that's when I went to paramedic school. Seriously.
Oh, really?
I was at a reset post-bankruptcy. Like, look, I'm going to go get my degree in paramedics.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. 37.
Yeah. I love that.
Look, and at that point, I was driving a 1991 Toyota 4Runner that wouldn't go more than 50 miles an hour. Seriously.
Great.
Everybody's passing. No AC, leaked a quart of oil everywhere I drove. Weber State hated me, I'm sure, with all the oil I left on their driveway.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, so you and I right here, 37, college.
Here we are. We're older.
Signing up for school.
Yeah.
Who the hell is that? My kid? Why is he in here?
Hey, I'm 10 years older than the coaches, 20 years older than the competitors. It's never been really heard of or done. Like you just don't do it. And then such a demanding sport like wrestling.
Yeah, 37.
Really?
Yeah, you're 10 years past your prime, brother.
Yeah, I love the story. Talking to the athletic director, he's like, how long's it been since you wrestled? I said, hey, I want to be part of the team. Is it possible? He goes, well, how long's it been since you wrestled? I don't know, a couple decades. He goes, well, what? I wanted to be on the team, and he's like, well, you might be able to be part of the teams. And I'm thinking, and in my head, I walk away thinking, oh, he thought I could be a water boy or,
right.
Just, you could be part of the team, and it was so unique of a
story
of an ask, a story, I was like, well, but what people didn't realize is I was still trying to save my life. I didn't have to win matches. I just knew that being part of the team would be the recipe I needed for health and fitness and focus and be that athlete I always dreamed about being. I missed the boat years ago, And anyway, I'm 10 years older than the coaches, 20 years older than most of the athletes. It's just a really neat story. I show up to the wrestling room. Everybody's got bets that'll last a week or two, and then I'll fizzle off. And, I made it through the whole season. And I won one match the whole year.
That's fine.
One match.
One.
And
that's all that matters, right?
The win.
The most important one.
Well, the win was getting up every day hurting and right. Still showing up.
But guess what made you be a winner? Is all the losses, and nobody wants to recognize that.
We were just talking about that. You got to go through loss. You got to go through struggle. You got to go through some hard times. It doesn't have to be serious, but you got to kind of feel the pushback and struggle a little bit, I think, to really learn and find yourself and learn to push harder, How bad do you really want it? And there were times where I wanted to throw in the towel. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking in the mirror going, God, what am I doing? Like, I'm getting my ass handed to me.
Right.
Can I have emotionally take another loss, right? Is this making any sense? But then I was like, well, I'm getting an education. I'm feeling better about myself. I'm feeling more positive. There's a lot of positive things going on. I'm just not winning a match.
Right.
So, and this is great because at the end of the season, and there was something about being on that team too. I was a role model. I brought life experience. It helped all the kids around me, so it was bigger than wrestling, so I went home and trained all summer. I I knew this was my window I've been looking for 20 years, and so I was going to go all in, and I was going to do everything I could to come back for that second season and find another win, and I trained all summer, lost 15 pounds. I came into the season in tip-top shape, and I wasn't super athletic. I was just tough as nails, mentally tough because of everything I'd been through. Like, you won't break me. You can't beat me. Anyway, I came into the season in shape, and I ended up having a really winning season. I ended up winning almost all my matches.
Wow.
I qualified. I won I got to the finals at the regional tournament, qualified, went to nationals, and I'm one of the oldest that ever competed at the junior college national tournament. I was 38 at the time,
wow.
2008. And, but what people don't realize is that, it was bigger than wrestling for me. It meant so much more than winning. In the process, I got to heal relationships with my family. I got to stay sober another
Show
2
them that
years.
you will not quit.
Yeah, I get to keep going, keep pushing. I get to overcome a tough challenge, and never give up. Like you may not win, you may not get where you're trying to go. You may not reach your goal in the first shot. You got to keep going at it and be resilient and persistent and just keep fighting and chipping away at it.
Well, I think just being a fly on the wall in the locker room, you're at that unique stage where you have these young college students with you that are starting to see some weird things in life, or dabbling with alcohol or drugs, and just to be a little mentor coach to stop the one kid that may have wandered.
Yeah.
It kind of puts you in this area of influence that you have an ear to the ground that you could then become counsel. And I think that would be just as exciting to me as the wrestling mat, as the opportunity to help or advise or influence, whether they take your advice or not.
Yeah.
But just to say, dude, I could tell you can walk that way if you want.
Right.
But I'll just tell you my story. Even though I thought I was tough and I was Ricky, Bobby Badass here, I'm going to win. But I think that would be kind of the other part that would keep you pushing.
Yes, I became a role model on the team, and the one thing I didn't realize is the impact I actually had on the team until late the second year. I actually knew that I was an important part of it, and I knew I was helping the kids to a certain extent, and but having that positive life influence, but I didn't know until we were at the national tournament. Like, I didn't win. I won a match. I went on and lost, and that night I wrote about this in my book, like these stud athletes that are at the national tournament with me, my team, they started coming to my room that night one by one and telling me how important it was that I stayed at it and the influence that I had on them, and this is a kid that's, super stud, and,
right.
And these are young kids and impressionable. And, they said, the reason I made it through the season is because of you. I came back to Clackamas from another college because I was struggling.
If this old man ain't quitting, I can't.
Yeah. And some of them didn't drink. They changed their lifestyle so that they could, go win the tournament,
right.
And it was a positive thing for their life because I was there, and, but it set me. What I realized in that process was that I have an opportunity to dream big, big, and chase some of those things I've dreamed about. I didn't know I'd become the role model and speaker that I am today, but I knew that my life was going to get way better. I knew it was going to get better.
Yeah. You felt better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was inspired. I'd found my spot, wrestling, my passion, and
you get to live it every day.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just you in the gym by yourself. This is at a school, in college, right?
Yeah.
And competing. And it's not just a little thing. I can't imagine being 37 years old competing some against those athletes that were at Weaver State.
Right, they're coming out.
I can't even see myself doing
shape
that.
Of their life.
Yeah, and I was a chunky monkey then. I was a paramedic 20 came right on full board is what they call that when you start gaining a bunch, So
ESPN followed me around. They got wind of the story.
Okay.
That it was in the Oregonian. This 38-year-old guy made a comeback in college. He's going to nationals, and they did this big spread. Great read, great story.
So ESPN.
Yeah. Well, the local paper did it first, Oregonian. I got to share. They couldn't believe a 37, 38-year-old guy was competing in college wrestling. Then they found out about the history, and they were just like, no way.
What a great story to share.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're a paper writer, I got your story.
And so somebody at ESPN caught wind of it, read the article, and then they called up and they followed us to national tournament. And they did a great story on E60. And it's you can go to YouTube and Google either Richard Jenson wrestling or getting off the mat, and it's a great.
They did a good story.
They did an absolute great job telling the story, my history, and then chasing my dream to win nationals, and
awesome.
Just a neat life comeback story,
Hey, that's kind of fun when they do that good that the person it's about makes it feel good too.
Right. I feel pretty good. I'm like, yeah. I still use it today. I play it when we have a drug and alcohol awareness program. I travel the country with it. 2018 and 19, we spoke to upwards of 40,000 kids around the country. And so what I've done over the years is I've taken my story on the road, trying to teach kids about the dangers of poor choices and drug addiction, and encouraging leadership and being resilient, overcoming
Goals.
challenges. Yeah, goal setting.
Accountability.
Yep, all the good stuff,
Right.
you know.
So
I see that there, I like it.
yeah, this little
we were
sign
just talking about grit. It's almost
Right.
at the top.
It is.
I go,
It's
what
like
is
the
it that all
second
this-
from the top. That was your word, grit, man.
I did. What is the one thing that most successful people have in common? They have grit. It's not looks. It's not
Right.
education. It's grit, and there it is.
Grit. There, second from the top, which is funny because I'm like, that's on that list. It's on the ladder, right? And it's not just on the ladder; it's second from the top, but it
Right,
is.
right.
The most important part that I think people miss in every endeavor you go after is, unfortunately, because we're human, we want immediate gratification
Right now, yeah.
right? But unfortunately, when you receive that gratification, what do you want?
Yeah.
More of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
So
a drive.
if you can set your goals far enough and hard enough, and then you have those little teeny things that you can do every single day, and you learn the grit, and you learn the dedication, and you learn the spirit, and you learn the bullet, or what would you say, hyper-focused concentration of whatever that may be.
Yep.
Like wrestling in college at 37, or creating whatever it is that you want to create out of nothing, with literally nothing, like home shelter broke.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is, living in your car broke. You can do it. The only thing difference isn't money.
Right.
And I know everybody judges. They'll tell you, hey, it is money, you're cheating. Well, no, it isn't. It's just that I didn't have it.
Yeah.
It's just being able to sit down just like yourself and go, I just need to sleep on that floor tonight. And then tomorrow, I'm going to do this. And then tomorrow, you come out and Stephen R. Covey, begin with the end in mind. Never understood it.
Yeah.
Right? That's his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end. Thought it was dumb. Right? When I first heard this part, it was like I was 20 some odd years old. Man. Whatever. Like, okay, so we're going to begin with our dying in mind kind of thing. Well, no, it's a little smaller than that,
Yeah.
but the principle is the same. Your end in mind was like, I'm going to be sober, but how do I get sober? Well, no one's giving you that map
Right.
because it's so emotional,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
just you, and it's so personal. So then you have to set a little target for today,
Yep.
and then how do you get to sober? Well, I don't know, but I know if I do this today, I'll be sober till in the morning.
Yeah.
And then if I do that in the afternoon, I'll be sober till dinner. And then kind of same thing for starting a company. Like, you don't have enough money to do nothing. But if you do this part today, then you can use the internet for free at Starbucks for a $3 cup of coffee all day.
Yeah.
Right. So that lasted a year at Starbucks using their internet for $3. All you can drink is, free refills. So you go in there, you pay your $3 cup of coffee, then you got internet all day. So anyway, that's kind of the step.
Yeah, it's those baby steps. It's celebrating the small accomplishments, not being detoured because we didn't quite make the big goal yet. It's like, the one thing I learned the most was that here I am chasing a national title, right? So, by the way, I graduated from college. I got, graduated from college, 2008. I went and competed for another 9 years. Wrestling.
So where do you compete after college?
I competed with the veterans, the masters, and I competed for 9 more years. Wrestling was
46 then.
Yeah, and I finally won a national title at 46.
Wow.
2016. But here's what I'm going to say though. All those years I was chasing a national title, right? The big win, the big goal,
Mm-hmm.
But during that process, chasing the big goal, my life got better. Relationships healed. I found myself and became, a more positive person,
better you.
a man of integrity and consistency and all those little things along the way. I get there, you win the big stop sign, you're a national champ. I got the ring, it's like, yeah, and you realize that the biggest win of all was the man I became.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The man I became. My kids look up to me like they're a hero through that process. That has healed. I'm present and available in their life. They never have to worry about
You're present
where
and available in
their
your
dad
own mind,
in my own,
which is really hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But consistency,
Right.
it's consistency over time. You will reach that. And
See, here's the thing that would be hard for you to understand when you got out of your rehab piece or just right out of jail.
Yeah.
To say, hey, you're going to be a national champion. Of course you want that the second you walk out of jail.
Right, 15 years later.
But if someone said to you, hey, no, you're going to do this for 15 years, it's going to be really hard to not say screw off.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a really, really hard thing not to just say pound sand.
Absolutely.
Right? So I can see where that would really become detrimental in if people focus on that right out the gate, even though it may be the long shot.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, do today. Do today.
Yep.
And then you do tomorrow.
Yep.
Don't think about 15 years from now. That may be your target.
Yep.
You may say, hey, look, I want to have a product that's the number one product in the nation.
Right.
And you have no money, but you have an idea.
Right.
And you're like, look, I'm going to take down Fortune 500s that have all the investment power on the planet to become the number one indoor product on the whole planet. How do you do it with $760 every 2 weeks?
At Starbucks. And
I mean, it's not even trying to relate or compare. All I'm saying, in my head, I wanted it.
Right.
In my head, that's something I thought would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Did I have a pathway or visibility on how it was going to happen? No. But if I put my nose to the grindstone and had some grit and just took those little pieces and I count on good team members that are there, they can pick up when you're down a little bit. Like, I don't feel like it. Like, no worries, I got it. Right? To have that makes it so you can accomplish it.
Yeah.
But the same thing,
putting value.
If I did that first, you'd lose.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't. That's too big to me. Yeah, but putting value in those small steps, putting value in those strides forward, and what happens is over time you start seeing a little more clear.
Yeah,
it becomes more possible, and then it becomes a reality over time. You know, and you're a stronger man for it. You know,
and thank goodness.
I don't want it handed to me. I want to go out and earn it. I want to work for it.
I think it'd be awful to have that hand down.
I want to build it. You know, I want to be part of that process.
Isn't that the reward now?
Yeah. That's
when you can look back and say, I was on a homeless shelter for. It's almost a bragging point now, right? If you skip those components, though, then you don't have the brag factor. And not that you need the brag factor for everyone else. You need it for yourself.
Right.
Like, it's just a lay down deal. Like, hey, I think it's bad right now. Look, I got this. Whatever's happening, it's really hard. I can't get into this position at the show or whatever, right? These minor little pieces that seem to be tough. But you're like, this is nothing.
It's insignificant.
This is insignificant. We can accomplish it.
And that can be a sword, too, because I have this gauge. So, look, the gauge is, well, it was homeless shelter, right? So, so how do you? Well, this is
I'm not homeless shelter, right? So,
but I mean, like, obviously, I ride through struggle and tough times and hard situations pretty easy today. But I have this gauge that it'll never be that bad, you know.
Do you feel? I mean, just out of curiosity, for my own sake, just taking my story into yours a little bit, and vice versa. I'm like, do you kind of look forward to the hard parts sometimes?
I do. It's like, hey, I want to navigate.
You feel weird?
I want to dig deep a little bit.
Me too. You know? I want it to be hard. Like, I mean, that's what excites me.
It is. I want to work at it. I want a little challenge, you know. You know, the other part to it too is I have a great foundation today. You know, and that's because I took the time and took the steps and went through the process and trusted in the process and slowly kind of found my way through getting where we're at, you know, and so I have a great foundation. So it's going to be hard to crack. It's going to be hard to crack when you go out and earn it like that, like yourself.
Well,
it's going to be hard to break us.
It's really hard. And I think my first two businesses, like I told you, we were bankrupt. I was bankrupt 2 times before, right? The first time I was 18 years old, started a shed company, got lucky enough to get in all the Home Depots by the time I was 20, right? Selling sheds at Home Depot nationwide, making stupid money. I skipped the footing part. I skipped the excavation part.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't put footings up. I just started framing walls.
Yeah.
Right? In the middle of whatever I thought was stable in my heart, it seems like solid ground. But in a rainstorm, you know, dirt gets pretty muddy and shitty, right? So if you haven't taken the time to really do your homework and understand and realize and learn and ask the right people, ask for proctors, ask for mentors, ask for people to, what happens here? Like at 22 years old, I had just about as much money as I do now, right? And it was stupid at the time to have that at that age with no discipline. So good luck telling me how to do anything.
Right, I know it all. I got
like,
it.
do you realize you're trying to tell me? Did you have penny loafers on?
Right.
You don't even know what you're talking about. And you're going to tell me how to run my business, right? And that's who I was.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I'm like, man, I'm so embarrassed that if I had the opportunity to, what I thought was hard during those shed years when everything kind of went south and I can make excuses, but at the end of the day, the decisions that were made were mine. So when I decided to sell my home or Arizona location to this guy, it was my choice, and not doing the paperwork right was my fault. But not having my footing built and my foundation built with the right mentors around me to not be so arrogant to ask for advice when it's important. Like just because you have this doesn't mean you know it.
Right.
We bypassed that step. Yes, I got lucky and flushed out early. Yeah. But there was no core to it. There was no base. Right. So the first rainstorm that hits, it washes out. Yeah. And now the fortunate thing is yes, it happened one. Yes, it happened two. You know, fortunately, there was decisions made, and I can tell you exact card game. It wasn't a card game, but hypothetically speaking, a card game where I had a dealing with Wheeler Machinery that said, hey, look, we'll give you this great deal. If you give us all the paid off equipment and collateral, we'll finance this money at no interest and do it. Well, all of a sudden I went from, you know, having paid off equipment to none, and then they got it all. So, you know, that was the card game that made it so I couldn't work myself out of a hole, but it was also in a dying economy of 2007, 2008, right? So it was kind of a monopoly of decisions. But then again, you can point fingers at the economy. You can point fingers at the decision or blame Wheeler. None. Good for them for the card game. Super smart. Like if you can get someone to collateralize all their paid off, you know, the stuff on debt with paid off equipment to give them a little lower interest. Super smart, Chuck. That was brilliant, right? But you're not going to beat me at that card game again. Yeah, right. You know, and so if, you know, right now we're working with an excavator that has the same kind of questions and problems. Not that it's issues, but he wants to avoid them. So he's preemptively asking like, so how would you do this? I'm like, never personal guarantee anything, period. I just don't. But I look at these ideas and the difficulty pieces. And if you can just spend the time on the footing and not try to hyper speed this thing from 0 to millions overnight, you may get the millions. You may. But if you're too arrogant to ask questions on how to keep it, guess what? That goes away too. Football stars, movie stars, right? You see it every day.
Very rich, successful people fall very quickly, you know, and you're absolutely right.
They forget that part. So you spent 15 years getting to the national champion building a footing, carving a foundation out of stone, not just pouring out of concrete. Stable ground, recognizing where you decided you wanted to build first. Right. You didn't just go, look, I'm going, I got an opportunity, I'll throw it on the beach. This will be great. Right? No, it's not.
Strategic, calculated, slow moves, you know, and now today we travel the nation, we speak to
thousands, tens of thousands,
and we're sponsored by Adidas Wrestling and Defense Soap. Those are two national brands. I'm an ex-convict. I'm an ex-drug addict.
Can you imagine if somebody walked into your
they're my partners, like
your jail cell and said, hey, by the way, if you keep a good up attitude, you'll have Adidas.
You'll have Adidas back.
You smoking crack? I'll give you. You got any?
Right. Like really? I mean, who would have thought? You know, you can't imagine. You know, and then you know, getting my record expunged, multi-state, multi-felon. There's just so many things. Like you do the right thing, you keep moving forward, and you stay focused on the overall goal and plan
of today.
Today. What am I going to do today to
go that way?
That's it. Just today. What am I going to do? You know, and one of the things, I'm very mentally tough. I'm very mentally focused.
Well, you'd have to be.
Through the sport of wrestling, through the challenges in my life, I'm really good at, just staying focused. You know, and I don't get detoured off of the pathway, the plan, you know, too far. You know, I stay pretty close, you know, if it has something to do with, you know, and it helps me move along.
So I got a question. When people come up to you and say, yeah, that worked for you, but you don't get it.
Right.
I mean, that's probably every day.
Oh, it's quite often.
You know what I mean? Maybe not every day, but when you're on the road, I can imagine it's almost every day. Where a kid's like, yeah, you can come in here and talk all big, but you don't even have the same story as I.
Right.
So you don't understand.
Right. But
so how do you take that? How do you handle that question?
First off, I have thick skin, right?
But not in a mean way. But how would you turn them?
Yeah. Well, no, but I do understand. I do understand that life is hard, and I do understand what it's like to fail, and not, not reach your goal. I know what it's like to, not see clearly a pathway to success. I get it. You think you're unique. I get it.
And you are.
And you're very you're very unique. But don't let the ego take the message away from you. Don't let the ego distort, and you got to hear the message, and stay open to the message that we have here, because this is about life.
When we get to that point in our mind, right, we find reasons to try not to do it. So we find all these applicable excuses.
Yeah.
They say that doesn't work for me.
Right.
Right. And I can say that was one of my biggest excuses along the way. Is like, yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. Now it's like, hey, look, I look forward to doing the hard stuff, and I look forward to getting advice from mentors and saying, wonder if I can pull that off. And sometimes I don't. And it's because I didn't put enough effort in it and I didn't try hard enough. But recognizing is the hardest part.
It is. And it's like, you know, if you can step out of your own way, and take your ego out of the scenario.
Pride's a killer and everything.
You know, it is, you know, and be open, then I think we can pretty much navigate wherever we want, you know. Pride and ego will kill anything, you know.
There's two things I think it matters. There's a couple good places for pride and ego.
And mentorship and counseling and leadership and coaching, this is a recipe to success.
Right.
When we can surround ourselves with good mentors and coaches and people that, you know, we can talk to and bounce ideas off of and
it's compounding, right?
It's huge. Like that's why I always say I can't do it alone, but together we can, and that's my big thing, you know, is together we can do a lot more than myself, you know.
There's two things. When teaching paramedics, I was going to say as far as on the proctor side and ego and pride, but also just to your point, when you're a mentor, you take the knowledge that person has, and a good mentor and a good proctor will give them all their knowledge, which in turn should make them better than you.
Absolutely.
Because they have theirs, and you give them all of yours.
Here's this,
and now they should be better naturally. So in the fire world, you see, not all, by the way, but captains or people testing for battalion chief, a good mentor should always cheer their people to beat them, that they're teaching and they're instructing, like, oh, I don't want them to get my captain job. So you see them refrain a little bit, right? But ultimately, a good person, a good proctor, and I'm not saying they're bad people, but the right person, the right mentor will give you everything they have and celebrate your win over them, because you brought tools too.
Yep.
You give them every tool in your case and help them win, plus theirs. Naturally, they should win.
God, I love that. That's a true leader. That's a true mentor. I
find those guys.
Yeah. I want to give you everything I got, and I want to get excited when you win.
When you beat me.
I want here.
Yeah.
It's and we're in a world where it's battling for position and battling for, you know,
to win,
you know. And so when you can step aside and go, you know what, I'm going to give you everything I got.
And on top of what you have,
you go win.
You should be way better.
I win too, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But where pride gets in the way of that is they feel like they don't have anything, right? The person, they'll say, look, you don't know anything. I'm going to give you mine, and that's all you know. But what you have to realize is those people have their base.
Yep.
And their base is better than zero, no matter what, if they're doing what you're doing.
Right.
It's more than zero.
I'm going to add to it.
And then whatever I've poured in your cup, and if you're a good mentor and a good proctor and doing what you're set out to do in life, really is teach. All of us, regardless of our role, we should be an example. Give everyone everything, and by the time you're done, everyone around you should be better than you.
Everybody.
Yep. Because they have theirs, right? The other thing that I think pride's useful in and ego's useful in is when you need to say no.
Yeah.
Because there's all the opportunities in business as well, where people are like, I have this opportunity. No. And it's not because and they may think you're being too prideful or cocky or arrogant or not wanting to waste their time or your time. It's not that at all. I've been down that road. I don't need that experience again.
Yep.
Bless you if you have it, and maybe you can pull it off different than I did. I don't want to stick my nose in there. That hurts. At least it hurt me.
Yep.
So run. And I think those are important times to have a little pride. Or an ego to say no.
Yep.
Right. So it's not always a detriment.
Yeah.
Having confidence is different than pride and ego as well. Right. Yep. Pride, arrogance, and confidence. They're all kind of their own
Sometimes
line.
you have to sacrifice some things, and it can be misconstrued as being, in a way, it's being a little bit selfish, but like being better than, but that's not the truth. Like, for me to win that, for me to do that, I have to sacrifice some things. And it means I might have to distance myself with some people, and I might have to make some lifestyle changes.
And I might have to lose a lot of matches in the middle.
I might have to lose a lot, and people are going to be affected by that. But this is what I'm after, you know? And so, like, you know, that was, you know, as a leader, as a business owner, as, you know, being, a lot of people rely on you, you know, so you have to make those strategical decisions, but you can't just jump on every opportunity that lays itself on the table. You know, pretty soon you're, you know, it's got to be calculated. Yeah. And
and you're not going to be good at them.
No.
Right.
No.
It's like, look, I'm out of 5 minutes. I don't have that 5 minutes to give you. And what I'm going to take, what you think you're going to get is going to be short of what your goal is. So I'm going to under-deliver and you're going to be frustrated. And it's not that I want to. It's just at this time in my life, I can't. I still have, an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Yep.
They're going to be 12 and 14. And then I have a 20-year-old and a wife.
Yeah.
And a life as
you got
well.
a lot on your plate.
Right? We all have what we have. And I want to help everywhere I can.
Yep.
But I can't help everywhere there is.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So like I still play a little bit on the fire. It's been 6 months since I've been there. I tried to go this weekend, by the way, Robert. So that's a little feather in my cap, right? So
you tried to go?
I tried to go.
Yeah,
there was an open shift, but I'm like, listen, I can't be back before 8 p.m. If there's somebody who wants to cover 8 to 8, and it's a full-time department, they're trying to click, so they mandatoried it over. But needless to say, you start to wonder, am I doing anybody justice by taking a set of turnouts, right? This department's really trying to move. I'm doing it selfishly because I freaking love that job, and if I could go back full time, I would.
Yeah.
The only hiccup I have right now is like, but I really kind of want to go to Mexico, or I want to go to my other house. Like I want to go travel. I want to be with my family, and to spend 48 hours at a fire station every 4 days is kind of rough.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's the thing is, where do you divide your interests and how do you focus? It's not selfishness.
Right.
But you do kind of have to protect your mental
a little bit,
space selfishly.
You got to lighten your plate a little bit. You got to, strategically, where do you want your focus to lie? Where are you going to be the most effective? Are you going to be present, available, and connected with your family,
kids
through this process?
For the several years I wasn't.
Is this taking like a wedge between it or not? And depending on what's important to you, and that's important to me. So that means that I've always got that on the forefront. Does this affect my relationship with my family, my kids? Does this help it, or is it taking me further away?
So that's part of your decision compass, like kind of your guidance.
Yeah, my moral compass is, my gauge. I've got to, it's good.
So you get done with wrestling, you win this. Now you're setting up this, you decide to write a book, you set up a camp. So you're doing, I've had the opportunity to look at your channels and watch a couple of your different podcasts, as well as some YouTube videos, as well as Everyday Hero episode. I've seen a few of these, but you decided, hey, look, I'm going to go around the nation and teach other wrestlers, because that's who relates to me, and we have something in common. It's what we consider our tribe, right? Wrestlers, there's all of a sudden walls down because you can relate in that piece. So a little less guarded, which is a beautiful entry, because every junior high school in most parts of the country have this to kind of mentor through.
Right.
So now you're going from school to school, as well as teaching, instructing. Kind of walk through what you do in this part of your life and be a champion.
So I've been traveling for 10 years while I was competing, and I created Be a Champion in Life. And I started working on the book and started traveling and talking in schools. Just started out as just like a assembly speaker, and meet with the wrestling team and wrestle with the kids, run a clinic, talk to them about life, and it's turned into something pretty amazing. I have a full alcohol drug awareness program I bring in. Years ago I made a decision that you're flying me across the country to spend 40 minutes to talk to all your student body in an assembly, and that's what most of the programs and speakers do. That's it. That's all. And I thought, well, how can we connect with these kids on a higher level? This is important. So you fly me across the country. I put together a whole day program. We do assemblies in the morning. We do focus groups in the afternoon, smaller classroom discussions.
Awesome.
Talk to the kids.
And it's easier to hear it from you than the cop. It's in the DARE program. Right, because they're kind of put off already. They're going to smell the weed on me. I better not talk to that guy. The one that needs to listen.
Right. You always know that those guys. You. I eat in the cafeteria. We meet with the athletes after school. I go to a home game if there's one at night, and they can introduce me. And I have a book signing at the school, or a public book signing, and it's just an all-day event. That way we can reach these kids from different angles, whether it be the assembly, the discussion groups, maybe in the hallway, maybe it's at the home game, and it's just a way to talk to kids about my story, and what it has become is something that everybody can relate to, especially after this last 2 years. Like, kids have seen it in their family. They've seen it.
I think one way you say talk to them about your story.
I think struggle.
How I would hear it, at least when you say that, is to tell kids how to avoid living my story.
Yeah.
To help
like,
them coach this. Like, here's all the left turns you don't want to make.
Well, the idea.
Right? And how to get out of it if you have made one.
Yeah. The idea is that I've been through it. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have, and then there's another message in it. It's never too late to make change.
No.
It's never too late to make change and make a comeback. Like I was 34 getting sober. I was 37 chasing a national title. So
going to college.
You're going to college. I mean, it's like it's never too late to make change in your life. Whatever it
Something to
is,
decide.
Wake up in the morning and go, you know what, I'm going to do something a little different today. And just consistently keep doing it. And pretty soon it becomes a lifestyle. Then it becomes a habit, and then it just becomes who you
Rewarding.
are. This is who I am. I'm sober. I just live a positive, healthy lifestyle today,
It's hard to keep that PMA some days.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not just like
I became accountable to all the kids I've spoke to over the years. I insulated myself. It's like Frank Papalizio from Journeyman Wrestling out of New York. He told me years ago when I first went out there, first year I ever spoke, I spoke at a school out there and went to his club, and we were sitting there having dinner. He goes, you're not going to, because it's a revolving door, in and out of prison, in and out, drug addiction. It's just, you're not going to be, now that you've, speaking to my kids, you're not going to be.
You better not go back.
Yeah. 2 years, these kids aren't going to look you up, and you're not living that life you're talking about, right? And it rang a bell. It kind of connected with me,
So that's your checkpoint.
I didn't know. I knew I was done, but I didn't know 20 years later. I can't see that far. But I do know that I'm on the right path, right? And I knew my intentions were good, and I was onto something big.
So question on that comment you just made.
Yeah.
So when he asked you that several years ago, you didn't know 20 years later that you'd be on that path. That kind of is in all addicts and all humans, really, that you say no for now, but you can't. It's really hard to commit the forever thing sometimes, especially for addiction.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, I am mostly
forever?
like, I can do it. I tell everybody, look, if I'm not chewing by 70, I'm going to kick it at full speed at 70 years old. Like, here's the deal. I'm only at 70. So I went and did a medical with the fire station, and Dr. Foote goes, hey, dude, you got to quit the Copenhagen.
Yeah.
You got to get off of it. This is crazy. It's going to kill you. You got to stop. And I'm like, well, that's nothing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. And I quit smoking before because it was just some commercial and some kid had cancer. I'm like, why am I doing this? But the chew was kind of the different one. He goes, listen, I love tobacco more than anybody else. He goes, so I've set a deal. 70 years old, I'm kicking it on full throttle. Right. And I'm like, I can do that. So I haven't said forever yet. I've just been like, hey, how many more years till 70? Okay, I got
20 years.
22 years, 3 hours, and 4 days. Right. What's that going to be? Right. I'm going to go buy me a roll of Copenhagen and sit on the porch and tell my wife to leave me alone. I'm like, hey, I hopefully not, but that's at least in my heart. It's like, look, I don't have to be forever.
Right.
I just have to be till 70. That's what Dr. Foote said.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So again, as addicts, like that was my addiction is nicotine.
Yeah,
and so I've set my goalpost there.
Right.
Like, it's not like I don't have to say forever. I just have to say till 70.
Yeah. That's a couple lifetimes away, though.
But yeah, right. But it's still in my sight.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that keeps me from doing it. And who knows if when you get there, you'll want it, right?
You're not doing it because you don't want to do it.
Yeah, right.
On that same note, are you going to go back? So what keeps me going is not just the response from the kids. I can tell they're on the edge of their seat. They're buying in. They're engaging. They're asking. I get it. I'm reaching kids, okay? But it's when like I got a letter. It hasn't been a month, but I got a letter, an email. So this is what keeps me fueled. Mm-hmm. I get responses in emails and calls and stuff, but there's one that stands out recently that rings a bell. And I got an email from a gal. Is this be a champion in life? Mm-hmm. That's how it started. Is this be a champion in life? And my boyfriend, you may not know him or remember him, but my boyfriend was in a middle school seminar with you like 10, 12 years ago, right? And he got a rubber wristband that said, be a champion in life, inspire others. She said it's his most prized possession, and he's never taken it off. This is 10, 12 years later.
Wow.
He's got a kid himself, and she said it finally broke in the shower, and he was devastated. And she said, is there any way I can... Can I get a wristband? Like, are you kidding me? I'm like,
here's a box.
Yeah. I'm like, what? But the point is, it's like you never know yeah, and I may not affect you right now, but that's going to resonate with you anyway. You know, this is stuff that it'll resonate with you. But that kid hung on to that moment, our moment, that day we were together.
He related that minute.
Yeah. And, well, so of course he got hoodies and my autobiography.
Yeah, you did the whole thing.
A stack of rubber. I mean, I'm just thinking a rubber band, like, you know, I'm like, oh my God. And she's reaching out. He doesn't know she's reaching out, right? So I'm like, well, absolutely. You know, you found me, you know, and I said, here, what's the address? I'm going to send a care package. You know, and if that kid held on to that thing, imagine when the package comes. Like his girlfriend did that for him.
Right.
Reached out, found me, and
got her done.
This, you know. And so, you know, and with that said, you know, here we are all these years later. We don't know how many people we've affected. We have no idea the scope, you know. I just know what's in front of me and what I see and what I know, you know.
So it's hard to pull the plug on anything like that.
Oh,
because it's the unknown. You're traveling all around the country to do these things, and not many of those know how to get a hold of you to tell their story anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Nor would they.
Yeah. Right.
But at the end of the day, 12 years later, who knows? Kids on and still wristbanded.
And there we are. They reach out and find me, and I'm still sober. I'm still living a positive life. I'm still impacting people. I'm being that leader of be a champion. I'm doing what I'm doing still, you know. And that's where like, oh, this isn't a facade. It's not a, you know, it's real. It's real life. This guy's for real, you know. And with that said, I mean, obviously coming from such a tough lifestyle, it took 5, 6, 7 years to validate, like to really
believe what you're saying too.
Yeah. Like it's really behind me. And then
wouldn't that be hard?
People didn't want to buy in. Like this guy, you know,
especially you.
When's the
right?
ball gonna drop? Right? Yeah. And me too.
Did you're like, I'm teaching this,
am
but
I really
do I
doing
believe
this?
it?
Am I doing it? You know, it's good. We'll just keep going. You know, and then you get your record expunged. You get your, you know, you find the success, and your kids look up to you like they're a hero, and like, you know, you own a house and a business, and you're, you know, happily married with 10 years, and things just start getting good. Oh, that was the other thing earlier I was thinking about, like, you know, these quick turnaround programs. Sometimes we need a little more than that. If you really want to make it, you really want to get over it, you need a little more than that. And then it's like we sell out too early. We don't buy into the process long enough to reap those rewards that come over time. Oh, this isn't working, you know. 30, 60. Oh, I'm not, you know, you're not going to get your kids back in 30 days. You're not going to own your house.
You can't do anything in 30 days.
It's going to take a while, you know.
You can't do anything in 30 days.
No,
that's the unfortunate deal.
It's going to take a while, you know, but being able to hang on long enough to start reaping those rewards. That's the golden ticket. That's the win. It may take a while, but when you get there, you're going to really feel it, you know, and your life's going to change. Mm-hmm. But 100%. It starts with one day.
The one in front of you.
One day. Today.
Right now.
I think I'll stay sober. You got all that. I think I'll stay sober today.
Yeah, that's like I said, we don't, they're all sealed. This one's open, but that's because I poured it into another bottle and put a sticker on the cover of this bottle.
Nice.
You know,
my buddy asked me, he goes, "Can you have a drink?" You know, I says, "Here I am, almost."
But I don't want to.
I might be able to, but I don't know.
I don't know. Want to.
Yeah. I don't want to, and I don't know what. So you look at the what? Well, maybe, but the you know, the risk is too high. The risk is, what if I can't, you know, the risk is way too high. So I just don't do it, you know. Right. But, you know, the other thing is like, oh, it won't be any fun if you're sober, you know. People, you know, man, I'm telling you, my friends don't care that I don't drink. They still hang out with me.
No one cares.
We still go to games and go to fights.
Have one if they want.
I can, and over time, I can still go to the bar and not have a drink, you know.
Right.
But the point is that, like, people still want to hang out with you. They actually respect you more. You know my niece
can
get away with not drinking
that I was telling you about with Disney,
that, you
right?
know?
Yeah, you don't. But my little niece with the Disney channel,
yeah.
she goes to all these different things like that. But she does not drink. She does not do anything. She just barely got married. She doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And she's 20. How old is Kennedy now? 22? 21.
Yeah.
So but she's as pure as they get, wouldn't you say? Yeah. She's super pure. But she goes to the party, she's invited, and they just respect that she doesn't.
Yeah.
And then they brag her up that she's not.
That she's sober.
Like she doesn't do it. She doesn't even swear. Right? That girl is super good. But so you actually can build your own reputation being the one person that's not.
You can.
And people forget that. Which one do you want to be?
You can. You become that leader, that influence,
be the DD.
that positive influence.
Be that guy.
Yeah.
You're the one that helps everybody.
People
at that
look
stage.
up to you for that.
Yeah.
Like, really? Wow. That's, you know, and they actually do look up to you for it, you know, and you become that leader.
My wife, when we got together, I used to go to the bar a lot, but I wasn't really the drinker. I was always DD. I'm kind of a control freak when it comes to anything. And I'm like, look, I'll just drive. So I've been kicked out of, Bo Rudy, he can confess to this too. I've been kicked out of bars, not for being too drunk, because I fell asleep at the table. Right, because I fell asleep at the table because I was just tired.
Right,
and they're like, "Dude, you can't pass out at the bar. You got to go home." I'm like, I'm super sober. I have like that's my first beer. Like, right, you got to get out of here. And Bo's just always laughing. He's like, "You got us kicked out again? Seriously, awesome. Barker, you're half a beer deep. You didn't even your beer's hot, and you got to stay awake at least."
Right on.
So my wife asked Bo, "Man, he partied a lot," and they're like, "Really? Have you ever been to the bar with Barker?" Like, he just falls asleep in the lounge. He does not do anything.
That's great.
You know, so that's never been my jive, and that's why they still fool. But hey, so Garth Brooks was in concert in Salt Lake this week.
Yeah, I heard that today,
he wore
actually.
a Just Ledoux it shirt. Right? So there's the Ledoux bourbon, but look at the side. Nice. What does it say?
Oh, okay.
Batch 1.
Batch 1. That's
there it is. Just Ledoux, a Garth Brooks t-shirt 2 days in a row, right? So if you guys are wondering, there's that bottle. So that's my little brag moment.
That's awesome.
He had that shirt on with the logo on the back, and there it is. There's your number. Those of you, don't come steal it. So anyhow, kind of fun. But that's I buy these cool bottles. That's a little local distillery by our office in Kentucky. This one's just a little sticker I put on another bottle. Yeah. It's really just like we talked about with 90 Proof Wisdom.
Yeah.
Hey, we've been through some tough shit, and it feels like we've been drunk whether you've been drinking or not sometimes.
Right.
And what is it that you got from the other side of the hangover?
Yep.
Right, and that's truly it. Kind of what I told you with Presley: sober words or drunk words or sober thoughts, kind of.
Yeah.
But there's a lesson involved in a hangover of life sometimes.
Yeah.
And coming out of it, what's the wisdom you pulled together? And we called it 90 proof instead of 100 proof because some of 10% of it's bullshit anyway.
Right,
so we're just making some of this up. Right, so you're gonna have to figure out which 10% of it is fake because I wanted to be able to exaggerate, so I didn't want to call it 100 proof, right?
Yeah,
like so, if we wanted to push a story one way or the other, we didn't have to validate it with 100% fact Facebook, right? So this is 90% pretty factual.
Yeah.
Pretty. So anyway, that's
it's
awesome.
It's your story. You tell it.
And it's yours too. Like, we're going to get involved. We'll get excited. We're going to teach kids. So schools, they can come on, recruit you to come talk to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me talk about the National Hope Tour.
Let's hear it. Let's do it.
We
August 5th.
August 15th, we're hitting the road from Oregon,
Got it.
And my wife and I are going to take a couple of weeks on the road. The tour starts in Ohio. 1st of September. And, we're going to be on the road 3 or 4 months.
Where in Ohio?
Cleveland area.
Right.
Vermilion. We're
so you're in North. So Cincinnati.
Yeah. But anyway, we're scheduling all 50 states throughout the whole school year.
So if you want them.
Yep.
How do you get you?
BeAChampionLife.com.
Bam.
There's a lot of information on there, videos, and
can message you.
Everything about our story and what we do. You can email, message. The phone number's there too.
And the testimonials are great, by the way. I watched them all today.
Did you?
I watched them all just so I could see. Hey, what we have never transparency. Never met in person. Right. Had a few message conversations, a phone call conversation, and then we just did a walk around to kind of get to know each other before this. But so I kind of did my homework and I read a little bit, watched a little bit, and then I watched all the testimonials because you're going to get. How are they? Are they scripted?
Yeah.
Are they emotional? Are they real? Are they pure? And you could feel it from the principals and the wrestling coaches and all that. So like I said, I texted one of my really good friends from a Davis County principal.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, this is something you definitely ought to look at your high school, So
right on.
Anyway, go ahead and tell us about this tour.
Yeah. I think, the
goal with it.
Yeah. It's like, I want to talk to every kid in the country. That's my goal.
So no end date. You're starting August 15th, but if it takes you 2 years,
I want to talk to every kid in the country, right?
There you go.
So, anyway, we've got a national tour for this school year. That's what we've got planned for right now. And we've got a handful of schools on the schedule. A lot of them are going to schedule in August, September. Fall's usually really super busy for me. Like, that's our biggest. We travel the most, but we're going through the whole school year, so we're going to be booking. Anyway, yeah.
Pretty excited.
Here's the thing, man. I am as honest and transparent and vulnerable as they get. So, this is a real life story of struggle to success. And, these kids need to, every school needs us, because dad's telling them, mom's telling them, the coach is telling them, the teacher's telling them. You need that third party guy to come in and talk about real life. And I think that we're reaching them from a pretty high level because I'm so transparent and honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just me, I'm just telling the truth, telling the story, Nothing scripted. I don't plan nothing out. I just go in and I do what I do.
What was interesting is people, even there was one lady on there that was like, I wasn't quite sure what to think. Wasn't quite all bought in. End of the deal. She's like, absolutely, 100%. You got to do it. I'm bought in. Right. So
Vermont, right?
Yeah.
Vermont.
I don't know where she was from.
She wasn't.
She's like, I don't know.
I don't know if this is what our kids really want. She bought in just enough to fly me to Vermont, like I'm on West Coast. Flew me at not even exactly sure what I was going to do. Right.
But she bought in.
And they worry about, like, this is addiction. This is an ex-convict. This is an old criminal. Come on, guys.
Right.
I'm 20 years sober now. I'm like teaching them about life. And
that's a different life.
I'm actually talking about the stuff that 20 years ago nobody wanted to talk about, right? Mm-hmm. We need to break these walls down and talk about this stuff because it's becoming more relevant by the day. And
it's starting earlier.
Younger and younger by the day. Yeah.
It's earlier.
At first I was like, you want me to come talk to your fourth grade? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and...
Well, they're growing up a lot faster than we are.
So she flew me out there, and I knocked her socks off. She's like, "Oh my god!"
You could tell.
She's like, "Are you kidding me?" I got another great story. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, she was blown away. She loved it. She was like, "If I'd have even known, I would have never thought twice." You know.
Right.
I actually had a hard time cracking into Oklahoma State University. Right. I was just going to talk to the wrestling team. I was in town on tour. I thought, and I called up Coach Smith, and he's like reluctant, you know, and he's like, well, you know, and they want to protect their D1 program.
Sure,
they don't want to just bring anybody in. Well, I show up, I'm sitting on the couch in the athletic room, you know, and so I'm kind of putting him in a position that I'm here, you know. And,
so you showed up.
I just showed up.
Good for you.
I showed up.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in the lounge room, meeting the athlete. Hey, how you doing, man? Richard. Anyway, and so he comes up. He's like, what's going on? I go, hey, I'm Richard Jenson, blah, blah, blah. You know, and he's heard about me, but he's like, well, I go, yeah, let me talk to your athletes. He's like, well, can you do it in like 5 or 10 minutes? Right. And I'm like, well, not really. I mean, I'm thinking in my head, for me to share a good message, I need some time, but he's kind of putting me off. You're here. I was like, how about if you give me 30 minutes? How about if you just give me 30 minutes? He's like, all right, let's do it before practice. By the time I was done, he wished I'd have went longer. Right. He's like, he had no idea. And now he's like, oh my gosh, this was awesome. This was great. These kids needed to hear this. And then they went to practice, and I'm talking to John Smith, and he's picking my brain now. This is a high-level D1 coach. Like,
right.
I'm just Rich from Oregon. Like, I'm just sharing my experience. Now he's picking my brain while the kids are jogging and running. And then pretty soon he's like, hey, guys, come on in here. Circle back up.
Got more. We got more.
I mean, and so you don't really know until you're in the moment. You actually see what we do and the response. It's hard to explain it a lot of times, but it is, like I said, it's about encouraging leadership. It's about sharing the struggle in my life. And I think that everybody on the planet can relate to struggle, one facet or another.
Well, I think it's to be appreciated, too. It's not like you're Tony Robbins going around charging grundles of money for thousands of people. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not that. No, it's a true, inspired, look, I need to help people. I want to prevent this pathway. And I also have some little pointers that can help them understand what winning and losing looks like and why both are great.
Yeah.
Both are great.
Yeah.
And that's just really hard to digest. The L is great.
Yeah.
But it can be much more valuable than the win.
Yes.
There's a lot to take from those.
Yep.
And we just need to learn to treasure and celebrate them.
Yep.
Those L's are important.
They really are.
Just how do you look at it?
They help you find yourself.
They do. Hopefully you lay on the ground in the gutter for a minute.
Just for a second. You don't have to stay long.
Yeah, like 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Just enough.
Just for a second. Just hang out there.
Just realize it can be that bad.
Yeah.
So I really admire that goal and that mission. Like, it is something I think we all would love to do, but just like quitting drugs, we're reluctant of doing. Like, I'm hesitant. Like, that's a question mark. Are people going to appreciate it? Do I have the right message? How do I get into schools? How are they going to trust me? Like, here I am, a felon, a drug addict, a bad dad for 15 years, but I have a good story that fixed it. And I'm trying to just there's probably a lot of questions go in your mind if it's the right thing. And then again, to break down those barriers of getting in school, you have a few hurdles in the way, which I can completely appreciate. You obviously like hard things, right? So you obviously like hard things. So principals far and wide and school administrators and county officers, school officers, like, There's plenty of them that definitely could reward and benefit from this. And if your kids don't, your faculty will.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not just for the kids. Like, it's for the faculty, the teachers, administration. We all take a lesson from it. You know, we can all stop and evaluate and take a look at our own life.
Right.
And that's what I do. I create a conversation that gives you a moment to reflect on your own life. And a lot of times you take a good positive message from it. That's what it really comes down to.
That and again, I'm not trying to pitch this all day for you. The reason I wanted you on here is I want people to recognize we have Nate Gardner in our, and I'm just using him because he is a great example in our office, much the exact same story as you. Yeah. He came to our office post-prison, drug dealer, got arrested, spent time in jail. He's 6-7 years sober now this year. He's been with us since then. He was a meth dealer, right? He worked in Vegas in the solar field, started dealing drugs, started doing his story. That kid is one of the greatest guys that we have working here, right? He has just got the integrity and the timeliness and the horsepower of a mule. The guy just is that guy. But it can go two ways. The unfortunate part is employers and administrators and police officers. You can go across the board. Most people aren't that guy always. Right? But we cannot just write off 100% of everybody because 51% of the people aren't. Right? The unfortunate side for these people, for most addicts, or we should just call them for most humans that got caught in a legal system. Like all humans have a problem. Some just got stuck over here, right? Is that because more than 50% fail, then we have to write off the whole group. And so when you come to their school and say, I got this record. Okay, great. Well, you can't say that all of us are bad because I do. But at the same time, it's easier and it's a lazier way to do it. Right? Kind of like looking at resumes. Oh, he doesn't have a degree. He does. He doesn't have it. It's easy to separate it. This guy's not going to be as easy as the guy that has the master's degree from Harvard. Right? He can come talk because that's what he learned. Well, all he's teaching now is what he was taught. So how about we take real life, teach real life, real expectations, real failure stories. How do you take failure to win? Just because you're a loser doesn't mean you're a loser. You just lost that time. But there's 365 days a year, and however many years you live by, opportunities to lose, and multiple times in those same days, right? So we can't just own losing as being a loser forever. It was one moment. Flip the rest into W's and hopefully a few more L's in the middle, right? Like truly, that is why I like, you know what, I think this would be a great story. We have a couple people in here. We have Nate Gardner that's here. We have Bob Quick. I don't know if you've seen Bob Quick's journey. I'll introduce you before he leaves. Heroin addict, meth addict, several. He's had 20 some odd cardiac events, 38 surgeries. He's died on me a couple times.
It's a testament. We can and do recover.
And he spends his time.
Dead,
exactly. You know? And so give that listen, right? If we're not going to expose our kids right now, and we're suffering this, we kind of talked about this. This may enter the wrong political spectrum, but I'm not trying to do that. All I'm saying is we've gotten over soft, and by muting reality, nobody knows how to handle it when it hits them. You can mute it. You can't stop it. Right? Don't look at this. Oh, bam, right behind the cloth, you get hit by the head. So you got to teach that you are going to get whacked with some type of reality in your life, whether it be losing your dog or your wife or your kids or your grandparents or whatever, divorce or lose a job or lose this or get addicted to something. Reality strikes 100% of everyone. And just because you're muting the conversation doesn't mean it won't. So we do have to bring people that have said, look, a lose in one column doesn't mean it's a lose in all. It is just one. Now I learned from that lose and I can create wins. So I thought, you know what, this is a great opportunity to share a story on how you're taking loses and putting them into wins, right? And that's why. It's not this sales pitch, but I just believe most administrators are so nervous to share a negative, that they want it all fluffy and colorful. But guess what? You have not done. You haven't created a real person anyway. You need to help in understanding how do you harden and build a footing. Right? So administrators out there, this is a great opportunity to jump on to give these kids an ability to listen to someone that some parents would shelter from reality. Some administrators say, no, don't look at the homeless shelter. Those are people that made bad decisions. Well, how'd they make a bad decision? We don't want to talk about that. Just don't do that. Well, what was it? They have no idea.
We're going to save more lives talking about it.
100%.
We're going to save a lot more lives just talking about it.
You can bring that into this month, right? Like they have Juneteenth today.
Yeah.
You need to talk about it, but the LGBTQ month, I think they need to add an S there. I think it'd be great to be involved in a straight line as well. That might make some people mad. But if we're going to include everybody, let's include everybody, right? So say what you want. But at the same time, if we're not talking about all things hard, you can't pick and choose.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. You will save more people, just like we're doing with the month, just like what we're doing with today, just like we're doing with everything. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Let's bring it to the forefront and teach people how to work around things that are hard.
Yep.
We can create winners out of everyone. Just believe, trust, help. Give them everything you have, right? Putting it on top of what they have, right? Creating superpowers.
Yep, superpowers. Those are just superhero superpowers.
Make everyone better than you. And that's what you're doing. Whether you look at it that way, you're just pouring what you have on top of what everybody else has.
It's just a little fuel.
And all of them will be better than you.
Yep.
And hopefully, rightfully, you can sit down at the bottom and cheerlead them, all these great people.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Right?
Let's go.
Well, you must be.
I want your life. I want you all to win. I want everybody to win, you know?
Right.
And that's part of the culture. Like, let's encourage.
Beat your records.
Let's inspire. Let's help everybody win, everybody around us.
Yep. Amen. Rich, you're awesome. What a great day to have you here.
Thanks for having me, man.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think we covered it, you know? I think we covered it.
You freaking struck it.
God bless everybody, you know, and just stay focused on the little wins, because the little wins over time create bigger wins and life gets better.
And it does, as long as you let it.
Yeah,
I think our biggest holdup is ourselves.
Yeah. Well,
life wants it to be better.
Well, my biggest demon is self. So, you know, I'm the, you know.
Right. So you're not alone, everyone, right? We all have our demon. Everybody else, we're all struggling with something. And there's people out there that just want to help. So let them tell their stories. Let's listen to it today. If you liked us, give us a little like at the very bottom. Give us a little comment. You have the opportunity to reach out to him. BeAChampionInLife.com, right? Say it. BeAChampionInLife.com. Rich Jenson, Oregon, for a while. I'm just decent.
National tour.
National tour.
National
Here he
tour.
comes.
Let's go.
Pretty soon he'll be zip codeless because he's going to spend so long on the road.
Let's go.
August 15th start date, no end date. So, hey, I might see you in 20 years from now.
Every kid in the country takes a while.
And they keep getting new ones. Just warning.
True.
Right? So it could take a long, long time. You may just be there. That gray beard is going to be a lot more gray. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to 90 Proof Wisdom Podcast. Hopefully there was a takeaway for you. If you like what we're doing or even our efforts, tell your friends about it. Let us know what we could do better. Again, thank you for listening to 90 Proof Wisdom Podcast. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button.